Hey, it's Storyworthy. Today on the show, comedian Sierra Katow talks about filming a nude scene.
I had booked this role, which was very exciting. It was a supporting role, So, I'd already shot the first episode. So the second episode script came in, and I immediately, was doing my homework, reading the script, I wonder if my character's in this. Where is she? And I noticed that the title of the episode was Naked Party, which, I didn't think anything of, because supporting character, I was like, typically the four leads, they're doing something more exciting, and that's kind of the event of the episode. And then I'm kind of like safely away from the action. I come in, maybe talk to them, whatever. But as I'm reading, I realize, hey, my character bumps into one of the leads, Bella, at the naked party. So I think I read it a couple times. I think I got to be naked on TV. Hey, all right. I guess that's confirmed.
Today on the show, comedian Sierra Katow talks about filming a nude scene on the show Sex Lives of College Girls. Stay close.
Hey, it's Sierra Katow, and you're listening to Storyworthy.
Welcome to Storyworthy. My name is Christine Blackburn, and I'm coming to you from Los Angeles, California. Whether you're a longtime fan of the show of almost 14 years or a brand new listener, welcome to Storyworthy. I hope you guys enjoyed the show last week with comedian Dawn Brody. Dawn told a story about a raccoon that was found on her houseboat. Dawn lived on a houseboat on the Mississippi flippin' River in Minnesota. She lived on a boat for 10 years. And last week she told this story about this crazy raccoon she found on her boat that she was both horrified and also, had a lot of compassion for. So she called animal control. You have to go back and listen to it. It's really funny. And Dawn is super talented. She's also a historian, and she has a great podcast herself called HILF, History I'd Like to Fuck. And it's a lot of fun. Really. It's so fun learning. It's crazy. All right, but not today, you guys. Stick with me now, because today I'm here with a comedian I don't know, and I'm thrilled to meet her. She has a whole lot going on. Her name is Sierra Katow, and today she brings forth the topic, filming a nude scene. So this is going to be fun. I have not done anything like that. I have shot commercials where I wake up in bed beside the guy, but, you're in a very specific set of pajamas. You know what I mean? Sure.
No, yeah. A little more space between the two of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Some layers.
Yeah. And then let me think. Well, also, when I turned 50, I had my picture taken naked on the back of a Harley. So that was very nude.
Whoa, I love that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Very, very nude. ChristineBlackburn.com. You're welcome.
Hey.
But so that was very nude, and it was funny because it was just like me, the guy who was driving the motorcycle, who I was dating at the time, and I hired a wardrobe person. She didn't have a lot to do. But put my
an easy day for her.
Yeah, put my bathrobe on, take my bathrobe off, and we did that shot in Malibu. Yeah, it is a pretty damn cool shot. I will say so awesome. Myself. Yeah, thanks. But anyway, I've never thought about doing an actual nude scene. I've even had to make out a couple times in the acting world. Have you had to make out on camera, Sierra?
Oh gosh. I realize I haven't. And I feel like that can be even more, nerve wracking, because you're like, it's somebody you haven't met, and you're like, oh, you got to make sure everybody's boundaries, for yourself and them. So what was that like?
Yeah, and you were just talking to them is the problem. You were just hanging out
coworkers.
with them in craft services line, and now you have to kiss, and it's just awkward, because even if you were into the guy, it still feels like your brother, because it's so orchestrated,
Right. And people are watching and telling you what to do.
Yes, and I've had the experience where the guy puts too many breath mints in right before or whatever, trying too hard.
Oh,
that's foul. You know what I mean?
What's the correct amount? Just one, probably. I'm not
sure. I think the correct amount is raw blow and just one Mitt.
Oh.
I think that's my direction.
Ideally, you're Rob Lowe or somebody, some heartthrob.
Well, I'm really anxious to hear your story, Sierra. Filming a nude scene. I know that they use different sorts of things. You know, they use nude color undergarments that are very effective in terms of like being super sheer. Right.
Right. If it seems you're naked. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
they had selections.
Yeah. And what's the thing that covers the guy? What's that called again?
Oh, gosh. That's right. I don't know if I know.
It's like a slang.
I don't know.
Slang. I forget.
I don't know if I learned that on the day.
Well, you wouldn't have to
But hey.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. Somebody else has got to take care of that.
Well, and then the other thing I came to mind when you were talking, you know, when I heard this topic, filming a nude scene, is straight out porno. Because I have two people in my life who've worked in porno, one in lighting and one in directing. So not actual performers, but and both of them say it is by far the most boring thing you'll ever see on set. Have you ever heard that?
I'm sure. That's so funny. You know, everything becomes a job at some point, I'm sure. So they're like, all right, I got to hang these lights. I got to tell these, you know, wonderful adult actors how to, you know, what the scene's going to look like. But yeah, I'm sure like I bet it ruins porn for them. They're like, hey, I can't watch porn and I'm back at work, you know?
Yeah, I've heard it's incredibly not sexual. You know, you don't feel any emotion, of course, between them because there isn't any or whatever. And it's technical, you know, because it's hard to light a vagina, Sierra.
I believe it. I've tried. No, I don't know much about lighting, but
we're talking about very dark spaces, dark.
Sure. Yeah. It's kind of, inherently hidden and, you know, kind of in the space.
Before we get to your story today, I want to hear about, you've got 3 really great projects going on that I know you're out there pitching, and I'm so happy for you. The first one is your debut stand-up special released by Comedy Dynamics, and it's called Funt, F-U-N-T. So you have to tell me what Funt means.
Oh, you bet. I mean, listen, I know it sounds like fun C word or cunt, if we're allowed to say it. But yes, it sounds like that, which is kind of the joke. But in my joke specifically, it's because I recently became an aunt before or around filming this special. So I'm a fun aunt. And then, you know, but I like to prefer that my nephew calls me Funt or Funty.
That is so cute. Oh, that's really funny. I've never heard that. In my head, I was thinking, I bet you when somebody was little, they couldn't pronounce. But,
sure. It could be a fun nickname.
Yeah, but kids don't say cunt as much, you know, as much.
Yeah, not as much, but they want to say an F word. So they're like, well, what if I said Funt? There's many possibilities. I think, you know, it's one of those things where you put it out in the world and people can interpret it the way they want to.
That's right. Where did you film the special?
Oh, it was right here in Los Angeles. It was in a theater called El Portal Theater.
Sure, in North
Hollywood. Yeah, gorgeous space.
Beautiful
talk
theater.
About Comedy Dynamics. They picked out an awesome backdrop, and they were filming a few specials around that time. So it was really fun to kind of see how they, you know, accommodated each comedian. And I had I have my family in the crowd. My parents watched my whole hour. And my sister, they watched me make fun of them to their faces. So
did you record twice?
Oh, just the once. So yeah, high stakes. It was very like, okay, you better get this right. But you know, there's some leniencies that are slightly better than live shows. So, you know, doing stand up, it's always just the once anyway in front of your live audience. So I was kind of like, hey, you know, if I flub a line and I want to say it more clearly, I was able to walk it back. Maybe it happened twice, you know, and everybody was on board.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the one time. I know I hear it's good to get some extras. So maybe once I get bigger, if this comedy special does well, maybe I'll get to do extra, you know, tapings for future specials.
Exactly. No, I totally agree. And it's very exciting. Is it true? Because I'm going to do finally, I've been doing comedy for a long time and it's just taken a long time, but I look forward to doing a debut album. But let me ask you something. Is it true that after you put your debut album like out and after that is completed, now people can actually listen to it, that on stage now you don't do that material?
Oh, it depends. You know, sometimes I still do it. Like, I think especially because not a ton of, it just recently came out. So it feels like, up until when I taped it to when it came out, I was still kind of doing some of the jokes. But yeah, I would say, if I'm going out doing a show and people have watched it on already, then I don't want to repeat any jokes for them. So I'm trying to, I've written a lot more since. So I kind of like am emphasizing the new material, of course, more. And
I don't think people realize that. Because that's to say that you've got a backup half hour ready to do on stage. Because, I mean, I'm sure when you chose the pieces for your album, you didn't choose every piece. You chose 20 of them or whatever. Is that right?
Sure. Yeah. So I think like when I found out that I was going to be able to tape this, I kind of had I had a lot of backlog of material from over the years and wanted to put that all together, but also wanted to fill in the blanks. And then, I think I taped like an hour or 15 or something. So we cut about 15 minutes. A lot of that is like dead air and stuff too, where you're like, okay, we can transition right to the next joke. But some of that was definitely like jokes that I was like, hey, it's funny, but I think I don't need to have that in here. If I'm going to cut something, that's probably the weaker one, or that just doesn't fit into the context of this hour. So I was very like, there's a few out there that I'm like, hey, there's some like deleted scenes, quote unquote, of this like movie, that I could technically still tell in the future. So you're always trying to pare down, and I was trying to approach it too. It's like, it's not just an hour of jokes, right? Like I wanted to make it a cohesive special. So there were certain things that probably didn't fit into it. And so therefore they don't have a place.
The theme of the ant, essentially, right?
It was the ant. Yeah. I kind of start from like also a point of like why I got into stand up, and then why it's been kind of an up and down situation, all these things that like, so walking through that story, I think I walk through the ant, I walk through, deciding on, that kind of plays into like deciding on family, do I want to have kids, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like, so yes, exactly.
Did you get to choose the pieces that were edited out? In other words, they have this saying that says you have to kill your babies, meaning, there are good jokes, you got to take them out. Or was somebody sitting beside you choosing, like, how did you get the hour tight?
Oh, totally. I actually mainly made the decisions myself. Wonderful editors with Comedy Dynamics would give me a cut, and then they'd be like, hey, we'd love to get it down to like this amount, an hour only. So I sent back like, oh yeah, here this timestamp to this timestamp. Let's cut that. We don't need that anymore. Oh, this, we don't need that. So I think it's, I think it's great that like, they let us kind of decide make the final decision, which who knows, maybe I'm the worst person to make that decision because I'm too close to the material.
I hear what you're saying.
But I think, it was nice that they gave us that.
Yeah. It's final cut. You get final cut.
Yeah. Yeah. So I, and I think over the course of just doing stand up, I have friends who are like, oh, that joke was my favorite. So okay, I'll try to keep that in. Cause apparently, they were like, that wasn't my favorite, but I am like glad that it worked, or even in the day of the show, I'm like, whoa, that joke didn't work as well as it usually does. And then this other joke worked really well. So I'll make sure that stays in, so that feedback is always kind of part of it.
Then you have another project going on. It's a PBS documentary series called Roots of Comedy, which is, I'm expecting you're doing the history of comedy, and you're with Jesus Trejo. Tell me about that.
Oh, yes. So that's a really fun like documentary series that Jesus is a comedian, super hilarious stand-up comedian from Los Angeles. He goes around the country, like different cities where a different comedian kind of shares about their own roots of comedy. Like, why did you start? It's also a very diverse set of comedians. So some people it's like, oh, well, I kind of do comedy. I also like started in something completely different. I think there's, I don't really, but for instance, for my episode, he returns to Los Angeles, where he's from, and also where he does stand up. And I'm also from Los Angeles. And
you're the one.
Yeah. So, I have an episode, my episode closes it out where we talk to my parents. We talk to, we go to some parts of town where like, little Tokyo, I'm Japanese American, also like, St. Gabriel, also we go to the Chinese American Museum where like my family has some pictures in there because I'm also Chinese American. So it's like, it's a fun, a little bit of history of Los Angeles, a little bit of history of my family. Totally. Also, we talk about why we got into comedy, what we like about it. So they did a really great job. I remember filming this kind of during the strike because it was like a documentary. So it was something unscripted. It's not, it was not part of the struck work. Sure. and just feeling also very like self-conscious about like, oh man, anytime, somebody's doing something on you, I'm like, I don't think I'm that interesting. Maybe there's more interesting people out there. So there's a lot of imposter syndrome going in, but I just was really like glad, they took care of the story so well and made me seem more interesting than I am. So, hey, it's a great watch.
It is interesting. Meeting anybody who grew up in LA, it's such a different thing for so many people. I mean, in the show business industry, because so many of us come from other places. I think that's the crux of the interest right there. Mm-hmm. And then in addition, you have been a writer and a co-producer on Comedy Central's upcoming animated series, Golden Axe. Can you just tell me what Golden Axe is going to be about?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, really running through the projects. I also work in TV writing. So one of the things I worked on lately was this great new series. It's based on a Sega video game that a lot of people loved. It is mainly like in an arcade, and then it kind of went to Sega Genesis, called Golden Axe. And it's a fantasy, kind of beat 'em up game, side scrolling game. And the show was based upon those characters on that IP. And we just had such a fun time writing it because animation, even though we're done, animation takes a while, of course, because a talented team of people have to come in and actually draw everything. So that it probably won't come out till 2025. So mark your calendars, get excited.
How many people wrote on that?
Oh, it was a smaller set of people, but a really mighty crew. It was, I think like 7-ish writers, maybe.
Well, that's a great number.
Yeah. 10 episodes. It's very, I think sometimes I like it when, you get a little bit more say too, if there's not too many cooks, right? So a real talented group. Mike McMahon and Joe Chandler created it. So it's kind of people from American Dad. Joe Chandler's a longtime American Dad guy. And then Mike McMahon made wrote on Rick and Morty, made Solar Opposites, if people are Star Trek Lower Decks. Mm-hmm.
Well, you have really done a lot of stuff. You were also in the past the editor-in-chief of the Harvard Lampoon. You mean like the Harvard Lampoon?
Sure. Yeah. So that's that was what I did in college. It's like a college magazine, really, but it has a legacy of a lot of great TV writers. So it sounds very fancy, but it was something I did.
Did you work with it all 4 years of school?
I guess so. I joined my first year, which was really exciting for me. I wanted to work in TV. I work in comedy, of course. So I was like, oh, you got to join this. It's very competitive. I also did draw for it. So I was like an illustrator too. And I did a lot of, it was something I don't do as much anymore, but I think there's so much fun with cartooning. My grandpa was a cartoonist along with watercolor artist. We always really admired just his little one panel gags and drawing our own little silly things when we were kids. So I think it just was a fun culmination of being able to use comedy meets visual art.
That's so great. Yeah. You're such an artist, Sierra. You can tell. You really are.
I wish I don't do it as much anymore, but
So you went to Harvard. What'd you go to school for?
Oh gosh, computer science, which is, I talk about a special. I was such a nerd.
Yeah,
still am.
It's just fascinating. Yeah. Wow. That's really something. When a lot of the Simpsons writers went to Harvard and worked on the Lampoon.
Yes.
So, I mean, like Al Jean and Mike Reese, those guys were roommates.
Oh my God. It's so funny.
It has an amazing history. I think that's fabulous. You guys, you can find out a lot more about Sierra over at her website, sierrakatow.com. And I'm going to spell it for you, because I'm a giver. Hey. Okay, Sierra. You know how to spell that, right? Yes. And then Katow. Katow.com. All right, you guys, let's get over to Sierra's story. But before we do, I did want to mention that My Life in 3 Songs is going strong. Head over to mylifein3songs.com and check out my other show, My Life in 3 Songs. It is on Spotify exclusively because we listen to the music. I talk to comedians about the 3 songs in their life that have impacted them. Not necessarily their favorite songs, but songs that have made an impact. So please, you guys, head over there to mylifein3songs.com. All right, you guys, wherever you are, you put your hands together for the very talented Sierra Katow.
Thank you. So excited to tell the story. So just to start off, I want to paint the picture. We're in February 2021, so it's deep lockdown for COVID. No vaccine in sight yet. And, I'm living in Los Angeles. I'm also one of those people who was very very taking it seriously, if that makes sense. So like, and a lot of the credit goes to my fiance, who I'm living with, he's more careful, maybe a bit of a hypochondriac, so we were the type of people who were like leaving groceries outside, for a few hours, let any virus die.
Wiping them off.
Watching the videos. I don't know if you saw the same video of like that sweet doctor who was like, this is how you wipe down your groceries, and like taking the little Clorox wipes. And
so funny. I remember
that one. Yeah, that one went viral. Yeah, all my family sending it around.
That's a real time stamp in life.
Oh, I know. Oh, man, that guy. I mean, listen, he gave us some comfort in a time of need, so I appreciate it. But yeah, we were those types of people, of course.
Him and Tiger King.
Yeah, Tiger King. Yeah, together they're like fused into my mind, like, like absolutely stamped in my brain. So that was the time. I had also I think right before the pandemic began, so back in 2020, I remember I was working in an office, and then we were like, surely it's going to be fine. We will at least still meet. This was a small group of people, and it wasn't like a big corporate office or anything. It was like we were writing for a little Disney Junior show. It was like, cute little Silver Lake office. And then I remember Trader Joe's was across the way, and people were like, oh, you're going to stock up on some stuff just in case. And I was like, I don't know, maybe I'll stop by. I didn't even get a cart, but I went in there and all the toilet paper was gone, of course, which Trader Joe sells it by like the single roll, but people were grabbing up those. The pasta section was all empty. I was like, maybe this is a little bit more serious. So that was quite a time. I mean, everyone I know has their wonderful memories from then, but anyway, that was just, to paint that, back in February 2021, I had actually recently found out at that time that I'd been cast in this new Mindy Kaling series, which, I mean, I love her. Like, it was very exciting, but we didn't really know what it was going to be yet. It is now The Sex Lives of College Girls. But at the time.
Right. And that's on Max. I think it's still available.
It's on Max.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Still available. 2 seasons are out. So yeah, at the time it was like, I read the pilot script and I just sent in a tape for it kind of thing. So,
Sex Lives
as you do
of College Girls. Yeah.
Yes. Sex Lives of College Girls, as you do. I sometimes in emails, I'll send, The Sex Lives of College Girls, and it'll go to people's spam, like, or vice versa. People will send me stuff about it and it'll go to spam because they think we're sending like porn. I don't know.
Of course.
Like, it's just a show on Max. Of course, Max also sounds like porn. So, I don't know. It's all a lot of X's. It makes things very scandalous. But anyway, so I had booked this role, which is very exciting. It was a supporting role, and who knew how many episodes I was going to be in, but I was, and also I was, interested in being like, how are they going to shoot this with COVID going on? And hey, they did a great job. Like, it was the type of thing where we were going in to get tested all the time, getting the really, intense PCR tests. So they really knew if we had COVID, and if you're not, hey, you can't work, you can't get everybody else sick. Of course, there are lots of layers of plastic between us and the next guy, and keeping everybody all oiled up with hand sanitizer. So it was a real cautious set, and, we thank them for it because obviously that's expensive. It takes a little extra time. So, I'd already shot the first episode. So the second episode script came in, and I immediately, was doing my homework, reading the script, I wonder if my character's in this. Where is she? And I noticed that the title of the episode was Naked Party, which, I didn't think anything of, because again, supporting character, I was like, typically the 4 leads, they're doing something more exciting, and that's kind of the event of the episode. And then I'm kind of like safely away from the action. I come in, maybe talk to them, whatever. But as I'm reading, I realize, hey, my character bumps into one of the leads, Bella, at the naked party. So I think I read a couple times. I think I got to be naked on TV. Hey, all right, I guess that's confirmed. Wow. So, but I also want to acknowledge, hey, this was one of the best ways to be naked. It's like at a party where everybody else is naked. So, it's kind of like even playing field. Yeah. I think that's the sentiment of like college naked parties, which do exist. Everyone's naked, so hopefully you're not as uncomfortable as like the nightmare where you're in your underwear in front of the class, Yeah. But I personally, I don't think I ever went to a naked party in college. I went to, the closest thing was probably an ABC party, which is anything but clothes. They would call it. And I remember I fashioned like a giant H&M shopping bag into a dress. Hey, and I used the little handles as straps for the dress. Cute. I stand by it, upcycling at its finest.
That's a cute idea. Anyway, I like that. That's funny.
Hey, yeah, I know. I wish I still had it. I don't know. I must have thrown it away.
Yeah, but people are wearing like curtains or bedspreads or.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. You could, funny. Anything. It could be like caution tape, right? Anything. But
it's funny.
So yeah, fun. It gets you creative.
Kids.
Gets fun pictures. Kind of like a costume party.
Adorable. Kids.
It doesn't have to be at Halloween.
Yeah.
yeah. So, and then the other naked thing in college I remember is I was in a stand-up comedy group because I did stand-up in college too. And some of the students really were involved in a particular show in Boston where they would do a naked stand-up show. So the stand-up comedians would be naked on stage and the audience was clothed, I think. So I never did it because I was like, I don't know, man. I think stand-up is already vulnerable enough. You know, I'm already telling strangers about my life and my insecurities and my inner workings. So I'm good just to be a little more clothed on stage. But hey, you know, I handed to them very brave and it was probably, you know, a fun story. So anyway, that's kind of my experience with nakedness in college. But back to this episode, you know, production reached out and was very, very kind, very careful. You know, hey, we see that as you might have read the script, you are going to be naked in this episode, but, you know, we are going to do implied nudity, which means we're not really going to show, you know, anything, no chest. But they did ask, we could block it where we show your full rear. So your booty for the technical term, just in case. So I thought about it, you know, and I was like, oh, interesting. And like, this is a time where I'm very isolated other than maybe going in for shooting this show. It's like, I even to lead up to the show, knowing that like I wanted to be in heels for my character because I'm a little shorter. So I hadn't worn heels in forever. So I was like, I got to wear heels around the house so that I am like I'm not like struggling on the day and tripping and falling in front of colleagues that I have to do, you know, perform in front of. So I was like doing that. And so now I'm like, okay, well, but I guess I got to do some squats. You know, I there's not a lot going on down there. I got to kind of get up to the average at least. So I was doing some squats and, you know, in my little yoga mat here in the same room where I'm doing my little work. So it was very, maybe I got to do that. Ultimately, I actually decided against it because, you know, they were really accommodating. They were like, hey, if you want to do it, that's fine. I kind of read through the script. I was like, you know, maybe not. Maybe I won't have them blocked for the booty, you know, maybe it's okay. Maybe I'll just keep away. You know, I was like, I'm just a little bit not sure how I would feel in the day. So maybe to be safe, I'll ask if that's okay. And, you know, they were like, hey, whatever you want, you know, and also
they did have costume choices, right? They did have new costumes.
Oh, totally. And one great thing, this was kind of during the time when they started introducing, intimacy coordinators. And, you know, and this isn't even like an intimate scene, right? We're just naked. We're not doing sexual simulation, but they still had one. And that was really helpful because she like got on the phone with me and was like, hey, you know, like it really doesn't, you don't have to do this full rear thing if you're not comfortable. It's going to be pretty straightforward, but like we have we have like a bandeau if you want, we have pasties if you want, we've got underwear or just full on like short underwear, you know, so she was very like, I think it was just nice to have somebody talk about that it's purely their job just to like make sure you know what's going on and that
it's very good.
Everything's being done in like a cool way. So versus like talking to your boss, you know what I mean, about that, which I think is fine too if the boss is good, but not always, right? As we know, it's not always the case. But like our boss was also very accommodating. So anyway, she talked me through that. And when I get there on the day, you know, this is a night shoot too. And like, I'm kind of still working during the day and then running over there. And so when that, you know, that means like our call might be 6 p.m., but we're probably going until 6 a.m., you know? So it's very like, ooh, a sleepover with all your friends, but also kind of like, I gotta be naked.
Yeah.
So I get there and one of the, you know, again, they have all the options for me. So I kind of pick some of the more modest ones. I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll need the bandeau. Maybe I'll put the stickies on and then maybe I can take it off and then who knows, we'll see what's going on. Right. And they also in makeup, this was the crazy thing. They air spray, they like, what's that? Yeah. airbrush your whole body.
Yeah.
So they had like the full machine that's like, it's like making like a bubbling noise.
Wow.
And like, you know, I think of airbrushing for faces and stuff, but they're like, oh, you could do your whole body. So you look super smooth.
Amazing.
And you look really like, I'm like, oh man, you know, every little blemish is like airbrush. Yeah. I'm like, hey, can I get this every day? So that was very cool. And so then they walk us to where we're going to film the naked party. And again, deep pandemic, right? So we're in a point where I really only was seeing who I live with, my boyfriend, who is my fiance. And then that's about it. So I've seen friends over Zoom, family over Zoom. And it was the kind of thing where, you know, you'd watch a movie at that time and see like a crowded parade and be like, oh my God, how are they doing that? Oh yeah.
Right. How are they so close?
Yeah, it used to be like that, but we don't do that anymore, you know? So I was very like, anytime going to set, it was like, oh my God, like other people, but also in this scenario, it was like all naked extras and like people I had met in like a crowded room because of course it's a party.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like, hey, I haven't seen anybody's naked body in a while, right? Because I've been in this long-term relationship. So I seen one and that's good for me. And then, so now I'm seeing a lot of people. No, I didn't know who these people were and they all kind of blended together, but it was like, oh yeah, naked bodies. That's a thing.
Yeah.
And then we were all kind of in one room crowded and being comfortable together, but it was definitely like a little shocking because I was like, oh man, yeah, this is like what a party was. I remember those. And then we would even like the protocol at the time for safety was like I don't know what the breakdown was, but it was maybe like every 17 minutes or 12 minutes, you had to clear out a crowded room and fan it out so that any COVID particles could be like dispersed and then you come back.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that lasted because I think, you know, they probably learned, hey, it's probably fine. But yeah, it was like, you know, and you're masking everything.
Did it all get shot in one day?
Yeah. I mean, I think the naked party was all one day. Yeah. So they had like one other scene with some of the other characters in one room, and then they came to our scene. So I believe so.
And then
luckily.
Like Mindy Kaling's character, she walks into the party.
Oh, so yeah. So her like the lead, who's Bella, it's kind of like her proxy, you know, like her in college kind of thing. She is excited to go to the party. She goes with some friends, they're chatting. And then at the time, my character was kind of like a bully. Yeah. Or like I didn't like her. So we like bump into each other and I'm like, oh, you know, funny. But we're both naked. Yeah. So it was very, you know, it was a fun scene and kind of one of my longer scenes. And I was like, oh, I got to do this, you know, this kind of intense scene while naked. And it was honestly like the director was awesome too for that episode.
That's
so she made us very comfortable.
Yeah, I'm so happy for you.
Oh yeah, yeah. It worked out fine. And then when I watched the episode too, it was hilarious because I'm like, oh yeah, they really like it was like just the collarbone, you know, just a cheeky collarbone. So I had nothing to worry about. They took care of it. But
how many people were in the pile, as it were?
Oh yeah. You know, I think quite a few. I feel like my memory could be off, but I feel like it was like 35. Maybe I'm exaggerating because I was like, wow, oh God, you know, that's a lot of people. But yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking in my head like 10, but 35, that's a lot of people.
I think so. Yeah. 30, 35. It was because, you know, there's a lot of characters and then there were like a ton of extras too.
It's so much fun, isn't it? Isn't it, Sierra? I love that part of LA. You know, that something like that can happen and, you know, you get this role and then, you know, it's just fun. It's a good story and it can really sustain you till you get something else.
Sure. Oh, I know. And it's few and far between, of course. But like, yeah, whenever it happens and it's done well, you know, I think it was like, wow, I couldn't have imagined like a more opposite version of life at that time, you know, to emulate.
So exciting. Yeah, it really is. And I think I'm going to watch the Sex Lives of College Girls because I haven't seen it yet. My kid is 17. They'll be going to college next year. So maybe it'll be a fun special. Is it a good show to watch with a 17-year-old?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, I think they would like it, but I know there is like, it's a comedy, but so I think it could be like a funny version of it, but there is sex. So I don't know how comfortable that is for like, you know, watching with parents and kids. Yeah. But it is funny. So it makes fun of it. You know what I mean? But like, I might turn I'm sure you both like it.
A lot of times my kid will be just like on the couch on their computer and I turn the TV on and they pretend they're not watching, but they are. or they
Sure.
do know what I'm seeing. So I
Right.
still kind of have to gauge that. Even though 17, when I was 17, I was totally on my own. Totally. I graduated from high school. I was gone. It's so different
no,
now.
it's nothing that they wouldn't know already. You know, I mean, I feel like it's certainly.
Don't you agree that COVID, or maybe you don't know younger kids, but COVID set kids back. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
sure.
kids that are 17, it's kind of sometimes more like a 15-year-old. Like it's because they had no socialization for like 2 years.
Oh my God, I know. I mean, clearly, it was, I think, just so tough for, the fact that they couldn't go to school. And like, it's like you can do your normal school stuff. So then that's kind of where, I mean, as a high schooler, I was certainly not getting any socializing outside of school. I was a little nerd. So
Did you have
it'd be
a high
horrible.
school graduation?
Yes.
That was good.
Yeah, it was, I mean, this was ages ago, but yes. But I know they got that, some obviously had to do it over Zoom or drive and honk the horn.
It's just interesting. Well, a lot of those kids that didn't have their high school graduation now because of the college protests aren't having college graduation.
Oh, college. I know, what a time. What for their timing to be for that. I know some of them. Oh, yeah. I mean, and hopefully, at least, your kid is going now. So I feel like it is a good, at least no more. I felt bad for the kids who, for instance, were freshmen when it was happening and then they couldn't go have their freshman year where they're meeting everybody, it was on Zoom. That's a tough one.
I hear you. Hey, listen, you are doing just great. Your career, I don't have to tell you, your career is doing wonderful and I'm so happy for you. You're such a nice person.
Thank you.
And I'm very excited about your debut album, Funt. It's coming out, or did it come out April 2nd, right?
Oh, yes. It came out. It's out on on demand kind of. So on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Vimeo, YouTube, wherever you watch. Yeah. And also as an audio album, you can listen only on, Tidal, Spotify, Apple Music, your choice.
It's just so exciting. I'm really happy for you. And I bet the second one will even be easier. And I have a feeling specials get easier. I don't know why I think that.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah. It definitely is like, I think people ask, when you're into your next one, I'm like, I'm still recovering.
But I think that, like, in other words, just doing the first one kind of like jumps over that bridge. In other words, that's kind of my hesitancy, and a bit, in a way, I have that hesitancy, But once you do that, then you realize, it's just another piece of the puzzle. True. It's just.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I recommend I think it's always tough. Like I'll watch the big Netflix specials of the huge comics that'll come out and it's like, oh my God, amazing stadium, rollicking laughter, but there are a lot of, their first specials and people who have their first specials, like it's going to be a little bit more modest and, in a smaller space or just I think I was trying to be too much of a perfectionist about it initially where you're like, oh, well, I got to be amazing coming out the gates. And it's like, I'm going to work my way up,
But that's okay though, too, because, it's like sometimes the nervousness or the enthusiasm can really pull you through, to get you to another place. In other words, you don't look back in any kind of regret. You did what you had to do at that time and you, in fact, got it done.
Yeah. Hell yeah. No, I like that too.
Get over there to Sierra Katow, KATOW.com and check out everything Sierra. Boy, you're doing a lot. I'm super happy for you. And of course, you guys check out storyworthypodcast.com and join my mailing list. Would you do that? How about that? Join my mailing list. I'm going to send you a note once a month. How about that? That's it. I don't bother you. I don't text you. I don't know who you are. But you will know everything going on in my world. So again, check out storyworthypodcast.com. And folks, remember the next Story Smash, the storytelling game show, is live in Los Angeles, Saturday, June 15th at the Lyric Hyperion. Tickets are on sale now. Head over to storysmashshow.com. All right, you guys, thanks again for tuning in. I sure do appreciate it. And on behalf of the very talented Sierra Katow, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. This was wonderful. Thanks for having me on.
My name is Christine Blackburn saying, make it a story-worthy week.
Thanks for joining us on the Storyworthy Podcast. We'll be back next week with all new stories. Subscribe to Storyworthy on iTunes and visit the Storyworthy website at storyworthypodcast.com.